The countdown is on. High school football season getting underway. We're here just in time to get you up to speed on all the contenders in North and South Dakota.
Speaking of contenders, not everyone made the cut in my first power rankings. We'll discuss the preseason top 5 in all classes across the Dakotas.
Countdown to kickoff, starting right now. Hello, great to have you back for another season of high school football on Midco Sports Network. I'm Tom Neiman in for Jay Elson, Jason Andera alongside. This is a special edition of Varsity Sports here on Midco Sports Network every Wednesday night. You guys will be here for the entire football season as we get going.
Yep. We've got previews on Wednesday nights. We've got post-game and reaction on Friday nights at 10:30. So we've got you covered throughout the high school football season, but we got to get you ready first. That's what we're going to do for the next half hour.
All right, let's get it going with North Dakota and talk about the big schools in North Dakota. Class 3A and Fargo-Davies claimed their first state title just 5 years into their school's history, so congrats to them on a state championship last year. A new team this year with new goals, though, at Davies, and let's hear from the defending champions.
This group is a really good senior class. I really think that last year, maybe some of these guys didn't get the headlines, but really the backbone of why we were such a good football team. We got some good playmakers in this group too, and Ty Jokum and J.D. Argleas. Our running backs are very talented, and we returned some really good offensive linemen. We feel like we got the guys to piece in there too, and so I think we can have a very, very good season.
Well, it's definitely being able to block for those guys is really nice because you know that they'll always be able to read off of what you're doing. They'll always be able to find the opportunities that you create, so that's really good to know that your work's being put in the best of hands.
Well, we have a lot of seniors returning, so we have a lot of experience with a lot of different formations with our offense. We have a lot of tools that we'll be able to utilize, especially in the run game.
All right, Jason, with the Hartnesses moving on, that great passing attack Davies had last year, there was so much attention on those two guys, but there's some other good players back this year at Davies, right?
Great running backs in that backfield. The only difference they might have that Coach Steele just said, a little tougher on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, might not convert quite as often on 3rd and long, but look for a power run game from Davies this year. They'll be just fine. But the EDC is stocked with contenders, and they're not the only team to look at. Let's hear from a few more of those contenders in the East.
Well, obviously our returning all-state guys and Derek Murphy, quarterback, he's huge for us. He was kind of an unknown last year. We weren't quite sure if he was going to be ready to play varsity football, and he showed us from game 1 through our playoff game that he's a pretty darn good quarterback.
I think the strengths are that we have a lot of returning skill players. Our wide receiver is coming back, and we also have 2 guys in the backfield returning, as well as myself and quite a few linemen.
Expectations are pretty high. We've been in the playoffs past couple years in a row, and we want to get that playoff win.
Always being focused and setting a tone from the start of the first game to the end of the last game, and getting past that first round of playoffs.
We're going to be a little bit different this year. We got to be a little more ball control and control the line of scrimmage, and we return a lot of guys up front, which I think will help, and we just got to be able to control the ball, like I said, and be able to move balls at chunks at a time, and hopefully we'll be where we were last year. We're really excited about our quarterback. We got a junior coming in that he's kind of been in the waiting, and he's a strong physical kid, and we expect to be a lot more balanced this year with him, and we bring a good receiving core back, so we think we can be a pretty balanced football team this year. But in the past, we've been so run dominant because we could be, but now we got to be a little more diversified just because of the personnel we're going to put on the field.
Spread teams need to be able to throw the ball. One of our starters is Creighton Fowl. He's an excellent quarterback. He got all the reps last year as a junior, so he's very experienced. He's done an awful lot to improve himself.
All right, the East is going to be very competitive in North Dakota. In the west half of North Dakota, Bismarck High School has dominated for nearly a decade there. Last season, they had a string of 7 consecutive Dakota Bowl state championship game appearances broken. So who's the team that took their place?
Well, Minot. They started out 3-3 on the regular season, but found their way in the title game by the end of the year, and they bring back a strong defense and a seasoned quarterback.
We have an all-state quarterback and a tight end that are pretty good, but we only return 1 lineman, and we'll have a new backfield, and so I think our offense is going to progress as our young offensive line progresses. We're counting on Ben to do an awful lot, and we're going to put a little more on his plate here. Last year it was pretty much call a play and run it. And then as the season progressed, we let him make some more decisions on the field. And I think right out of the gate this year, he needs to just make some play calls at the line. And if he wants to run, he runs. If he throws, he throws. And we'll put it in his hands because we believe in him.
I got 2 years under my belt already, so it's kind of nice knowing what you're coming into as a senior, and you know, you're kind of the leader now, so it's a big role to have.
I expect us to be physical, strong, fast, but overall I expect us to get better day by day. I expect us to take small steps forward for that big goal towards the end.
The whole defense just rallies to the ball. We've really been harping on that since the beginning of the start of two-a-days, and you know, because I mean, you're not going to have we don't have all of our original starters in the past couple of years, so we got to all rally to the ball and all be as a team.
All right, Jay, so this is a huge deal. That's a big deal to have your quarterback in high school just go up and pretty much call whatever play he wants.
Well, that's nice to have a seasoned quarterback. He was thrown in as a sophomore, had a full year as a junior, and as a senior, they expect big things out of Ben Belinsky. But something they'll be missing that they didn't talk about in those comments before is they're missing 3 all-state linebackers too, but a very seasoned defense. I think they're going to be just fine. Minot looks pretty good, but the rest of the WDA is packed, and we can't talk about the WDA without talking about Bismarck and Century and Mandan and some of these other teams. Let's hear what they've got back.
We got a lot of question marks. We got some guys that we're just not sure of. We won't find out till we lace it up for real, but like their effort. I think the effort's been there. Just I think we just can't get complacent. We have to get guys that want to be here, want to work, and want to take it to the next level. If we do that, we'll be okay. If not, then we'll be a very average football team because that's where we're at right now.
I think our D will be really well once we get everything together. Our O-line's starting to come together. We only have one guy returning, so we're still working together, everything there. Have a returning running back, which he did really well last year. Quarterback's bringing everything together, so I think we'll do all right.
Got a lot of guys that want to go hard, and you know, we lost a lot of linemen last year, but you know, the guys up there, they're ready to work, and they should be all right.
Especially early in the year, we've got to mature with our quarterback. Dalton Feeney won't be with us at the beginning of the season, and so Adam Geiger will man that position, and it's just going to take a little while until we get some reps, some varsity reps with him, but he's a very talented young man, and I think our offense will respond around him.
I think our line's a lot better than last year, and our defense is a lot older than last year, so that'll help a lot.
I mean, we have high expectations. We're looking forward into going to the first game and playing the defending state champs and being able to put in a good game and set the season.
We have a large group of senior kids, and we'll have a couple senior receivers and a couple senior backs back, as well as a quarterback back that can play. So, you know, kids like Nick Miller and Jared Zittelman and Gabe Meschke, along with Jake Carlson and Tyler Gangle, will be the take your pick of the poison as far as what we do offensively, and those kids are going to be contributors.
All right, let's take a look at Jason's power rankings in the big schools in North Dakota, and you got Minot at the top, Jamie.
Well, Minot at the top surprises some people because it's been Bismarck or Fargo South at the beginning of the season for as long as I can remember, as I've covered North Dakota. But Minot this year, with the depth that they have, it's such a big school. You've got experience back on the defensive line. You got experience back at the quarterback. But don't count out Bismarck. They've got big play players. Jackson Ford in the backfield. Braden Thomas up front. Grand Forks Red River, to me, looks very strong in the east. And then West Fargo, especially at the beginning of the season, I think they'll be just fine because the line is back for that team. And they've got a seasoned quarterback as well in Creighton Fowl. And then Davies hangs on in that top 5. You know, they've got that running game, but the rest of the contenders, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Mandan, Century, especially when they get Dalton Feeney back in a few weeks, and Fargo South approach that top 5 throughout the season.
All right, let's move to Class 2A in North Dakota. The last 2 seasons, the king of the hill has been St. Mary's. They've converted potential into results, as you say, like nobody else has done in the last couple of years, and they set out to do it again. Here's the preseason power rankings from Jandy in Class 2A in North Dakota.
No surprise, you got St. Mary's and Shanley at the top, the 2 teams that have been very dominant, especially over the last 2 seasons. Shanley has a little bitter taste in their mouth, though, and I think they've got a chip on their shoulder. Despite having to replace so many starters, they're going to knock right on the door of St. Mary's, and we get a treat right off the bat for week 1. St. Mary's taking on Shanley again. See the rest of the contenders, though. You look at Beulah at number 4. This is a team that basically has all their starters back. 2 very strong running backs in Matthew Kryzon and Corey Alt. With the seasoned quarterback Casey Walker, they could make a big move up. And Trinity, even though they were under 500 last year, they're my surprise team. I think they could be a top 5 team throughout the season.
All right, a lot of the usual suspects.
You got it.
And when we come back, we'll get more into the rest of North Dakota's classes, Class A and the 9-man games up there. And then later on, we'll give you the preseason rankings in South Dakota high school football when we return on Countdown to Kickoff.
This Varsity Sports Football Preview Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
Welcome back to Countdown to Kickoff, getting set for the high school football seasons in the Dakotas. And let's talk about Class 11A in North Dakota, Jason, and another familiar school that rises to the top of the preseason rankings, at least.
Well, it's been 100 years since Park River Fordville Lincoln has won a title. Well, they might have a chance to do it 2 years in a row. They are the top of Class A for me. A lot of guys back. Job number one is replacing that quarterback, but guys like Caden Hunter, Jackson Hankey, Levi Cudmore, a lot of guys back. And then you see, this is a weird class this year. You've got some teams that have moved up from 9-man football to play in this class. You've got some teams like Minot Bishop Bryan who moved from AA down to single A, and I think that's going to help Bishop Bryan with the competition that they have in their running back and Aaron Sandy. They'll be just fine. And then Carrington, a lot of guys back for them. Hazen, traditional power, always good with two strong running backs back. And then Larimore sneaks in from Region 2 at number 5, although don't be surprised to see Oaks make a trip or two into the top 5 throughout the year.
All right, in 9-man football in North Dakota, already have their season started. Some teams are 1-0 already. One of them is Cavalier, and you kind of moved them up a little bit after that opening win, right?
Yeah. I had the advantage of watching 1 week of football to see what I should do with this preseason power rankings, but I do have Cavalier back to number 1 after the absolute thrashing they put on Divide County, who really is a top 5 type of team, but they lost so much. But the guys that stayed on that team got to practice against those big-time players that have moved on, like Brock Robbins, and I think that practice against the top-level players will help. They look very good at number 1. Shiloh Christian, Thompson, Richland, Linton, HMB, Linton moving down from 11-man football back down to 9-man football will all be strong. I would look at Thompson as maybe a team to watch. They could make a real move in Region 2.
All right. Again, 9-man already their season started. Everybody else, the 11-man teams get going in North Dakota. There's a game Thursday night that you're really looking forward to in the big schools, right?
Big one in Bismarck. You've got Century taking on Davies. These Week 1 games, don't get too excited. I mean, they don't count for your region standings.
Excited.
But don't get too excited if your team wins or if they lose. Don't get too far down. These teams will be very different when we get into October.
And in North Dakota, if you're a South Dakota viewer, they split it into 2, the East and the West. You got the WDA and the EDC.
Yep.
You go for those championships first before you think about going for a state
So
championship.
some of these coaches treat these games almost as preseason games when they play a different conference early in the year.
All right. When we come back on Countdown to Kickoff, we will check out the field of contenders in South Dakota, starting with the big schools in 11 AAA.
This Varsity Sports Football Preview Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
Welcome back to Countdown to Kickoff. High school football in the Dakotas getting going this week. Jason, let's talk about South Dakota's big schools. 11 AAA is now the biggest class. This will be the 3rd year for it. And in the last 2 years since we've gone to this format, Sioux Falls Lincoln has won both state championships. They haven't lost a game in the last 2 years. This is incredible. What about this year, though?
And I don't think they've come in as my preseason number 1 in either of those 2 years. Nothing new this year. Lincoln has a lot of obstacles in their way. They graduated a lot of talent, but this is a very, very deep team, and I think they'll be just fine.
All right, let's hear from the Patriots.
Talking about, last year and the year before, and you're on this streak of wins, and I really don't care about that. Right now, it's the 2015 Lincoln Patriots, and we need to make sure that our kids, this is their team.
We have, people are kind of putting us out already, but try to surprise some people and see if we can win another one.
It's getting better. We started out like an average offensive line, but then we had some guys step up, and they took that role.
I think Lincoln is kind of a whole organization. We have really high expectations for the team, and we have a really great coaching staff that always pushes us to keep looking at the number 1 goal, which is, of course, winning a championship.
All right, Jandy, I think this makes Lincoln dangerous this year. Maybe not as dominant as they have been the last 2 years, but still dangerous because nobody thinks they're going to be as good as they were. What do you think?
It's hard for me to count them out because they have been so tough. They are so well coached, and they've got a deep line. I think their lines are still the best in Sioux Falls. And in high school football, that matters. That matters for a lot.
All right.
But it's been the last 2 seasons that Roosevelt has been picked a little higher in the preseason, but they've run into Lincoln. And this year, we're going to find out what it's going to take for them to get through that final obstacle to a championship.
Goals and expectations, we want to be the best in the state. We want to get that state championship. We want to get the ring. We've came up short 2 years in a row now, and we just really want to put an icing on the cake for our senior year.
Well, I think obviously with a lot of us coming back, I think it's probably state championship or bust. I think we bring back 10 guys on our defense, so we should be pretty strong.
It's championship every year, that's how it is. And we've just been busting our butts every day, so I'm going to try to get back there. Not come up short again.
Well, we lost in the state championship last year, so we had a lot of returners this year, so our goal is to get back there and prove people wrong because we thought that we deserved to win that.
Every year our goal is to win a state championship, and I think we're among a lot of other teams that feel that way. And I think this year we have a lot of returning players, and we have that same expectation. But our daily goal is to get better every day. I hope we can. If we do that, we have a chance at the end of the season.
Jason, you look at Sioux Falls Roosevelt, they built that program up so well in the last 5 or 6 years under Coach Nelson there. You look at individual spots, and they've just got a lot of talent, more talent probably than anybody else at every individual spot, don't they?
They do, again, have to replace a lot, but what high school team doesn't, they've got a great junior class, and I think this is the year that junior class really shows what they can do. They've got the tools to do what it takes to go all the way.
Great receivers. Good quarterback, good linebackers. Defense is going to be good for Roosevelt.
Defense is way better than they were last year, and I think that's the key. They're going to get off to a great start this year. We'll go through the rankings in a minute, but there are a lot of other teams, and a lot of them come from Sioux Falls. We'll talk to those teams who are going to contend in the 11 AAA right now.
Well, we've got some experience back, particularly at the skill positions. You know, we've got pretty much all of our running backs back, all of our defensive backs, all of our linebackers. So it's an unusual year for us to have that many kids that have had some playing experience.
Quarterback Jack Scalehouse is going into his senior year. Last year, I think he had only 2 interceptions thrown, and he really made big strides in his game, and he's really having a good summer. He's doing the same thing.
Last year we struggled with our defensive backs, and they're all sophomores, so most of them are sophomores. So we're bringing them back, and they have a better idea what we're doing. I mean, we have to replace a little bit of the D-line, but we have guys that can do that, so it's going to be great.
We've got some great running backs, Tyler Hintz, Andrew Sorensen, and we also have a good backup, Wickersham. We'll be running the ball a lot. It'll be fun.
All right, Jason, the 11 AAA power rankings in South Dakota, and you've heard from them all already here in the show.
Well, exactly. These are the teams that I think are going to be vying for that Final Four, and I think this year it's tighter than it has been in a long time, but I do think Roosevelt deserves that #1 edge. I think they've got the most talent back. They've got one of the best defenses, and they get it done up front as well. They've got the best combination of those 3 areas. Although O'Gorman, if it wasn't for the lines, I think they would have the best team in the state. I just don't know if they have enough depth on that front 4 on defense and that front 5 on offense to maintain a tough 11 AAA season. So they're very close. And then Lincoln, like I said, who can count out Lincoln? And then Washington, a very, very, very much improved team. I think they're going to be a very solid #4 with a chance to inch up into that top echelon. And then Brandon Valley, they lose a lot, but you know that Chad Guerrero is going to have his team ready, and they're definitely not a pushover in this class.
All right, when we come back on Countdown to Kickoff, we'll get into Class 11 AA in South Dakota. The contenders there, including the defending champions from Yankton.
This Varsity Sports Football Preview Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
Welcome back. In 11 AA football in South Dakota, Yankton, the defending champions. What do the Bucks have coming back this season to defend?
One of the most storied programs in all of South Dakota. Put one of their best seasons in school history together last year, and they've got some players back. Maybe some new names up front, maybe some new names at quarterback, but the Yankton Bucks are a team to reckon with.
The one thing we really need to keep working on, but it's going to be a strength, I think, is our team unity. I think that's got to be a plus. I think the strength for our seniors is what they got experienced last year, and having that experience and the leadership we had last year, hopefully that carries over and reflects a little bit this year.
We have goals similar to every other team in state. We want to reach the dome, but
We want to have goals every week, reach those goals, and we just want to win every game we can.
We're coming off a state championship win, and I think a lot of guys had that in our head. But I think we also flushed that, and we realized that this is going to be a new season. This is our team. The seniors are gone, and now us as seniors, it's our turn to take over.
A lot of teaching. You've got a lot of younger guys that don't have as much experience, and you got to, the tricks of the game. You got to teach them new things. Teach them to be leaders themselves.
We're just hoping to get better every day, be the best we can be by playoff time, and hopefully come out in the playoffs and do well and go for the state championship.
As you said, Jason, this is one of the most storied programs in South Dakota football, high school football history. Back in my day, these were the guys to beat. It's kind of cool to see them get back up to where they used to be.
Well, they have that consistency up front, and this year is no different. A lot of big guys. Sheldon Gant looks very good. And they've got Reed Sawatsky back at quarterback, who missed all of last season. He probably wouldn't have been the starting quarterback anyway, but he's got big shoes to fill. Mason Strahl did a great job at quarterback last year, but I think they'll be able to pass the ball just like they did last year. But this class, of all classes, I think is the most wide open. A lot of contenders, including Pierre and Harrisburg and Brookings and a lot of the other teams. Let's hear from the contenders who are going to try to knock off Yankton this year.
And, the main one obviously is Brevin Kaiser as our quarterback coming back, and he really put up good numbers at the end of the season. Threw for 750 yards in 3 games. Toward the end against Douglas, Aberdeen, and Brandon Valley. So, obviously he's the pin kind of to our offense.
I think we have a shot to be a really good team, but that doesn't come without doing nothing. We got to keep working at it, though.
With 19 seniors gone, we got to kind of find some holes to fill there, but we're doing a good job of that. Kids are stepping up.
Well, we got a lot of guys coming back in the offensive line, and defense is going to be stronger than ever. In the backfield, we got some guys that have played varsity a lot, but they're going to get used to this stuff, and we're really looking forward to having a new team out there this year.
Definitely have those goals. I mean, if you don't set a goal to win a state championship, then why are you out here putting in the work?
Okay, Jason, a lot of the other polls out have Yankton back at number 1. You do not, however. You're going out to Pierre.
I think Pierre is the most impressive, complete team that I've seen, starting with their quarterback, Brevin Kaiser, who really could be the best quarterback in this class. He's going to have some challenge, though, from Kanan Nelson out in Mitchell. He's a good quarterback, too. But Pierre is great. They're going to be able to pass the ball. They're big up front. That's what they didn't have last year. They've gotten a lot bigger over the offseason. I think a lot of these teams have really good front lines. You see Pierre, Yankton, Harrisburg. Those are the 3 best lines in this class, and that's why I have them 1, 2, 3. Harrisburg, obviously some holes to fill from the backfield, but I think they're going to get it done on defense and up front.
Should be a lot of good close games in this class this year, right?
Any one of those top 4 teams that you see sitting there would not be a shock to me hoisting the trophy in November.
All right. When we come back, we'll take a look at the rest of South Dakota, 11A, 11B, and the 9-man rankings from Jason Andera when we come back on Countdown to Kickoff.
This Varsity Sports Football Preview Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Mitchell Technical Institute and Shields.
Welcome back to Countdown to Kickoff. Let's finish it up with the small schools in South Dakota, starting with 11A. And St. Thomas More moves up to 11A this year from 11B, Jason, but you got the powerhouses Madison and West Central at the top.
We hadn't said that a couple years ago. Powerhouse and Madison didn't really go together unless you're talking about basketball, but they have been a stalwart in 11A for the last couple years. This is the year they take that next step. Brody Fredrickson back, Mitch Hansen, a lot of guys. West Central's going to be very good. St. Thomas More back with some good receivers like Cole Thurnis, but this is Madison's class.
All right, in 11B in South Dakota, Parkston, the defending champions, up there in the top 5, but Ron Colley at the top of the list.
Yeah, the defending champs did lose a lot. They've got a couple guys that are going to fill in and do all right. Josh Rands at quarterback, but I think Ron Colley has finally put a good team together and will be number 1 in 11B.
All right, and in 9-man in South Dakota, remember there's 3 9-man classes, A, AA, and B, but you rank them all together.
I do, just for fun, and so we can talk about who's the best 9-man school, because they're all about the same size. 9AA is stocked this year, and I think the top of 9AA is a team that was playing 11-man last year. I think it's Bonham with Chase Corton, maybe the best athlete in all of 9-man football. Sometimes it just takes the best athlete to be the best team. This is the case for Bonham. A very young team, but if they get a winning streak going, this could be a really dominant team. But all these other teams, Woolsey Wessington has got a lot back You know, they miss Lorenzo Williams, but basically the rest of their team is back. Alcester Hudson will be back with Grant Johnson. I mean, we could go on and on, but these 10 teams you see here all be contenders this year.
All right, join Jason and Jay Elson here every Wednesday night for Varsity Sports. That's it. We'll see you out there. Thanks for watching Countdown to Kickoff.